in this road ahead. So with that, I'm going to introduce our special guest speaker, Mark DeSaulnier. The picture of Mark underneath it is something that is my last bullet, but I'm going to make it my first. If you've been at any rally out here in Walnut Creek, and probably in other areas where Mark DeSaulnier is a representative, you've seen him. And those are 4 of our volunteers standing proudly by him right there at a Walnut Creek rally, which he goes to on a regular basis and shows up. And that's what we want in our leaders. We want leaders that are showing up for their constituents. He represents the 10th Congressional District, which includes Contra Costa County and a part of Alameda County. He came to Congress 11 years ago, and he has passed more than he has worked on and participated in the passage of over 60 legislative initiatives. He currently sits on the Committee of Education and Workforce, and he serves on the subcommittee of that committee for higher education and workforce development. He earned his BA at the College of Holy Cross. He has been a member of both the Teamsters Union and the Hotel Employees and Restaurant Employees International Union. I was really excited to hear this. He moved here in California in the 1970s, where he actually owned and operated several Bay Area restaurants, which I didn't list here, but they looked pretty great. So again, I know you'll see him again, but today we are proud and excited to introduce to you Congressman Mark DeSaulnier.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Linda and Molly, for inviting me, and thank you for all you do and how important this is. And this is, as I always say, when I go down to events at the Tesla dealership at Walnut Creek, we started with about 50 people there, and we've been up in the thousands, where local Bay Area media had their helicopters over watching. But I always say it's like therapy. I think we all need this to stay strong and stay connected in what is a extremely trying, sort of unimaginable attack to American democracy in our lifetimes, as I look at a lot of the folks who are here. So thank you. Just a little more background. I grew up in Lowell, Massachusetts, drove across country. I'm French, Canadian, and Irish, so I thought I'd be Jack Kerouac when I graduated from Holy Cross, and I ended up here. I owned restaurants, and I was talked into by a local chamber of commerce to go on a local planning commission. I got elected to the city council. I became mayor. I was a county supervisor. And then I was in both houses of the legislature, where I chaired the transportation committee in the assembly and had the distinction of the first freshman to ever be the chair of that committee in the history of California. I chaired the labor committee in the state senate, and then I chaired the transportation housing committee. And as in the introduction, I'm a senior member of the transportation committee in the House, senior member of the education labor committee, and I'm the ranking Democrat on the health, employment, labor, and pension subcommittee. And I'm also the ranking Democrat asked by Leader Jeffries to be the ranking member on that. Background, I think we sent you just my lifetime scores of legal conservation voters. I'm 99%. I served 3 different governors on the California Air Resources Board, where I was able to become a bit of an expert on renewables and alternative fuels. So if you hear about the California waiver and what this administration is trying to do away with that in the Clean Air Act, which was signed by Richard Nixon. The California Clean Air Act was signed by Ronald Reagan, so just demonstrates as bad as they were, the party's gotten worse. And in that regard, I have an original sin. I will admit to you, when I was 18, I registered as a Republican when I lived in Boston, Massachusetts, because I wanted to vote for Ed Brooke, who was a US Senator who frequently was, his bio in Boston was he's more liberal than the other senator, and that was Ted Kennedy. So I absolved myself as much as I could from that original sin about 25 years ago, where I came to my senses and got out of a party that was clearly moving to an unacceptable level. We can talk more about that, but Citizens United and the work that Jane Mayer's done around that, her great writing, and what Citizens United has done to this country and independent expenditures, and their focus on turning the Republican Party into what it is now, which is more of a cult. Yeah, so in the Congress, I think a couple things that I'm really proud of is we've had more town halls than any other member of the Congress in the last 11 years since I came from retail. I like engaging with my constituents. We have thousands of people show up since January 20th, but they're very engaged. And we do them both in person and we do them digitally. And I just did one with our superintendent of education that was digitally just talking about what his cuts to the Department of Education are doing to us here in the East Bay. Um, I led an effort that was successful in getting the courts from the House to contest the administration's closing of the Department of Education, and the lower courts have just said that that was illegal. So I'm very proud of that. Also been very involved in disputing the California waiver, which the courts have also said he can't get rid of by executive order. You have to go back and pass a bill through both houses to change what's in the Clean Air Act or what Jimmy Carter created in the Department of Education. The Department of Education is particularly dear and near to me because I've had a long career with the disabled community and special needs kids in special education. That's who the Department of Education serves, amongst others, but they're protecting young people with civil rights like vulnerabilities and doing away with everything we've done to help the special needs kids in the disabled community is incredibly cruel and counterproductive to me. And then lastly, you mentioned this, just the work we've tried to do here in this district, in the 10th Congressional District, where I work with friends and colleagues like Jamie Raskin, who I served in the Oversight Committee with multiple years, one of my best friends in Congress, and Joe Neguse, who lead our rapid response team in the caucus. I personally think we all were asleep at the wheel after the election before. I just for me, it was hard to believe that he ever got elected the first time and that he got elected a second time, even though he was going to get close. And having been friends with Kamala Harris since before she ever got elected, since we're both from the East Bay, Alameda and Contra Costa County. So we made a mistake, but since then we've ramped up. We're doing really well. Jamie and Joe lead this rapid response team with our partners, and we have won 93% of the cases against his actions in the last 4 months, compared to 78% the first 4 years. So we've gotten much better at fighting him. So in the courts, we're winning, and he's upset now that Trump, some of his appointees are opining or judging his actions illegal. So that's important. But in the district, we've created and are still creating a template that I'd like to just learn from other districts around the country, and to the degree we can work on this. This is the fifth wealthiest district in the country, but it's also very diverse and progressive for a suburban district. I'm very proud of the people I represent. We do have poverty in the area. So we've created a template where, because of how close I am to the environmental community, in particular the labor community, we have partnered with Indivisible and resistors and sister resistors to make sure we're communicating. And one of our little accomplishments in that regard was simple little thing. The head of the Labor Council, who's terrific in Contra Costa, he used to work, was a legislative advisor for Richard Trumka when Trumka ran the AFL-CIO, and now I'm so proud we've got him here. But Josh got us microphones and speakers so that we didn't have to scream and use a bullmo. So that's just a little example of simple little coordination. So we're going to continue to do those things where we can, like you're doing, amplify, but do it in our district where we know, and I certainly am very familiar, having represented this area for 35 years at every level of government, and how we can work together and how we can share that with colleagues around the country, and also export it so that we can go into red districts and purple districts, which we do. And since you mentioned the Rossmore Democratic Club, I would be remiss if I didn't say we like to say it's the largest Democratic club in the country, and they're very effective, incredibly effective. And because Katha may be on this, and since I'm French Canadian, but I'm mostly Irish, she likes to tell me, I'm a member of a Irish Talkers intervention group. It's called On and On and On. So I'm going to try to finish in 3 minutes before I go over my time and talk too much like a good Irishman. But that group has been really exemplary, and I'm very proud of participating with them. We just had a town hall in Rossmore with over 300 people who were very engaged in person, a political town hall. And that one other thing that's a little bit of a struggle, and I've talked to my friend Alexandria AOC. I had someone come up to me at one of the Tesla dealerships and say to me, "I really like you, but I want you to be more like AOC." So I said, "Well, I'll have to tell her that." So I went up to the floor and I said, "Alexandria, I just want to tell you, somebody told me I should be more like you." And she said, "What did you say?" And I said, "Well, I looked at her and said, look at me." God bless AOC. I want to be more like her, but there are challenges. We laughed. But one of the things that she has done with Bernie is on the campaign side, really be able to create um, the ability to go out and speak freely on the campaign side. On the government side of where I've done the vast majority of my town halls, we are prohibited from House ethic laws from campaigning. And that gets confusing to people, especially right now. So doing more of this on the political side, but it's also more expensive to do town halls because of security needs, facility needs. We've got more people. So we're working on a model with all of our partners here that I can do more of that. And again, that we can do more of that. My desire is to use my background. I've been uh, talking with former chiefs of staff of Sherrod Brown in Ohio, where I'd like to do some stuff with Sherrod in Ohio, where we go into labor halls in Ohio and Western Pennsylvania. Chris DeLuzio, a wonderful member I'm working with in Western Pennsylvania to do it there. In Wisconsin, in Ohio and in Wisconsin, where Mark Pocan is current chair of the LGBTQ um, caucus and is the former chair of the Progressive Caucus, one of my best friends. We continually do childish competition to see who gets higher on progressive punch scorecard of which one of us is more progressive. Um, so we go back and forth. I think he's eighth right now, and I'm 12th. Not that we're competitive, but it flips back and forth. I like to tell AOC I'm more progressive according to them than her. I don't know. None of us quite know how they do their formula. But to do these partnerships and then to try to take them in this example to districts in Wisconsin and Ohio and Western Pennsylvania and say, how did we lose particularly union members and working families, and just go and listen and tell them the success we've had, for instance, in the labor movement in California, where 80% of the California building trades are women and people of color, because we went into those communities knowing they were the workforce of the future, got them academies and schools where they got apprenticeship training, and they get out and they make $130,000 a year as plumbers or steam fitters or electricians. And I'm really proud of that, but we can replicate it without lecturing people and listen to how we can partner with them to make sure the labor movement becomes the labor movement it once was in the Midwest, and that Democrats are leading it. And having sat on the Education Labor Committee for 11 years and listened to the majority party, current majority party, do the work of the Koch brothers in trying to ruin the labor movement, labor's voice, they're not on their side. And the fact that we've lost a lot of those people, we have to be honest and open and listen to them to get them back. We lost the House by less than 8,000 votes in some of these key districts. So that's the road back, and we have to win the House in a year and a half. We just have to win the House back. Can you imagine him with full control of Senate, the House, and the White House for 4 years? So we got to win the House back, and we have to keep fighting in the courts and winning, and we have to get more people engaged in the electoral process. In those 7,000 votes we didn't have, we lost 2% of the turnout when Biden won against Trump in this election. We get those people, young people, people of color, women, re-engaged, then we're a majority party and we get the White House back and we get both houses in the Congress back. So I'll stop there and answer questions. And I only went over 1 minute. So I'm very proud of myself.